Today's Morning First Alert Weather Show is brought to you by Sam Bernstein Law.
Alrighty, good Tuesday morning, Mid-Michigan. I'm First Alert meteorologist Matthew Mondro here. Just another update on your First Alert forecast here in this First Alert weather show. And the big story that we have here in the forecast as of right now is the fact that we do have a First Alert weather day now in place for tonight and tomorrow. Now that First Alert weather day is not for the entire TV5 viewing area though, so that is one thing that I do importantly want to stress here right off the bat with this First Alert weather day. Really, if you'll be traveling tomorrow morning around Saginaw or even around Flint, you won't have to worry about any ice or any sort of freezing rain. It's really just into our northern tier of counties, our 6 northern counties, where we do expect some of the freezing rain to move through and some of those heavier ice accumulations. So that is what could lead to some slower travel for tomorrow morning. So that's the reason why we do have that First Alert weather day. I'll go ahead and take you right over here to the info on this first and foremost. Tonight and tomorrow morning, again, just those northern counties, that freezing rain could accumulate between 1/10 and 1/4 of an inch. So certainly some impressive freezing rain accumulations. With that, we do expect some icy roads. You really don't need too much ice to at least create some slick travel. However, with some of those totals possibly approaching 1/4 of an inch, that's where we have that possibility for some of the heaviest hit areas to possibly even see some power outages. So I do want to make you aware of that as well. I'll show you on the map here exactly where we're talking about for this First Alert weather day. So if you're not highlighted in the red on this map, then you are not included within this, or you don't have to worry about the ice. So around Midland, Bay City, Saginaw, Mount Pleasant, Bad Axe, and even around Flint. Well, I will say Bad Axe, for example, I think you could actually briefly see some freezing rain too. I really don't think it'll be enough to provide some major issues, especially as temperatures warm up during the morning. But we'll zoom in on this closer. So you can see here pretty much from that southern end of Aranac County, we're kind of drawing this between M61 and US 10. So this does include places like Harrison, Gladwin, Standish, Sterling, West Branch, Houghton Lake, Rose City, Hale, Augrey, Tawa City, pretty much any of these places that I've listed off, you do have that possibility for quite an icy start to the day for tomorrow. So again, do want to first alert you to that, and we have now officially declared that First Alert weather day as a result of this potential. And this actually lines up with where the winter weather advisory is. So we're really kind of playing to where the advisory is, because the advisory does match up with what we're thinking too as far as where some of these ice accumulations go. Should be a little bit more of just a light glaze, or certainly the lower accumulations for Clare, Gladwin, and Aranac counties, but the heavier accumulations are expected to be directly in our northernmost counties, so Roscommon, Ogama, and Iosco counties. So here we are with our freezing rain potential map. So you notice how the darkest pink shading on the map, which is where we expect the most ice to be, that goes from around Gladwin to Standish, and then anywhere north of there. Now south of those spots down towards Mount Pleasant, Saginaw, Caro, essentially about M46, those areas could just briefly see a glaze of ice right at the onset of this system. So that's something worth noting as well. So this system picks up at about midnight tonight. Right when it initially moves in, we could possibly see some freezing rain just briefly going through some of those areas like Mount Pleasant or the Tri-Cities, or even towards Bad Axe. But in those locations, because temperatures will just be borderline on freezing, then come back up above freezing pretty quickly, more than likely just an hour or two after the system starts, so at about, say, 2 or even 3 a.m., if those areas in the light pink even see any sort of freezing rain, it'll melt away pretty quickly because the temps will warm up. Just rain will take over. It's all rain to the south. Pretty much as soon as you go south of Saginaw, the chance of freezing rain very significantly and very quickly drops off to 0. So Owasso, Flint, Lapeer, Linden, Fenton, Grand Blanc, any of those areas, and that does include Flushing or Otisville or Montrose as well. those are all areas that we do just expect to see rainfall from the system. And I've kind of listed out a few of these here on this graphic too. So as you go north through our area, really it's our up north, or what we usually call the up north locations. That's where you're going to have that better chance at seeing freezing rain for the majority of the time frame of the system. Now in the thumb, and the thumb is a little bit interesting here too, because Huron County I do think could see some of that freezing rain, at least initially. Like I was mentioning, there's some initial freezing rain, but then we start to see the temps warm up, and that allows things to melt. Anywhere south of Huron County, pretty much, you're just expected to see rain for the storm system. So let me take you over to the first alert hour by hour here, and I'll go ahead and back the start time of this up even a little bit more, say towards 5 o'clock this evening, 5 or even 6. For this evening, whether it's after school activities for your students, your drive home from work, maybe you just have some grocery shopping to do, no concerns whatsoever for this evening. So still looking good. We should have some more cloud coverage compared to this morning, but this right here on your screen is at about 5 p.m. Definitely no issues there. Now as we fast forward to about midnight, this is where you see the freezing rain starting to pick up for those northern areas, and see how it stretches across the bay into northern Huron County. So right around Port Austin, Port Hope, and Bad Axe, those are the areas that could sort of briefly see that freezing rain right at the onset. Otherwise, though, the rain takes over there in the thumb. By 3 in the morning, we have rain falling from Mount Pleasant to the Tri-Cities, anywhere south. So pretty clear delineation between the freezing rain and the rainfall, which this also lines up with the advisory map and also our map that we were showing you for the first alert weather day. And then as we keep going forward through the morning, you see the rain just keeps lifting north through Gladwin and Standish, then eventually even takes over into our northernmost counties as well. Should be wrapping up at about noon, if not maybe slightly after noon. But as we go into the second half of tomorrow, we do expect a much drier day, but we'll still hold on to some of the cloud coverage. Might not see more of a clearing in the clouds until possibly tomorrow night, but also with that, after the fresh rain, we could see some more fog again, kind of like we saw this morning. So really the focus here is going to be midnight tonight until noon tomorrow. And I just want to make you aware of that again, that your morning drive tomorrow, regardless, it is going to be wet. The bus stops, regardless, are going to be wet as well. So just make sure your students have the rain gear as they head out the door for the bus stops tomorrow morning. But if you're around Standish or Gladwin and then anywhere north of there, that's where your commute tomorrow morning and the bus stops actually could be quite icy as we start off the day. More than likely be after about 8 in the morning tomorrow, where those northern communities end up starting to see the roads improving a bit more. Highlighting this here with our road conditions that we're forecasting tomorrow too. Again, between about 4 and 8, I think that's when roads are going to be at their slickest pretty much. But again, after about 8 in the morning or even 9, we should see those roads starting to improve for those northern areas. So focus for the first alert weather day is again for up north. Other than the first alert weather day for tonight and tomorrow, though, the forecast does still remain mild, and we actually still have a fairly quiet forecast in the Thursday, but then by the end of the week, we will start to see things getting a little bit active again, and then we have a cool down for the upcoming weekend as well. We'll go ahead and take a quick break real quick, and then when we come back from this break, we'll go ahead and talk some more details on the temps for tomorrow's system, and then we'll also take a look at that extended forecast. Alrighty, welcome back from that break. So going forward here in the forecast, we'll be talking about some of the temperatures that we have ahead of us too, even with the freezing rain threat that we have for tonight and tomorrow morning. Pretty impressively, actually, some areas should still warm up quite a bit by the afternoon for tomorrow. And as always too, if you have a question about the forecast or for your location, feel free to put that in the comment here on the Facebook live stream, because I am monitoring that Facebook live stream chat room. So feel free to leave a comment or a question if you do have one about the forecast or for your area. And as always, a good morning too to Cherry Hetrick in Gladwin. Hope you're having a great morning so far. I know it's been a little bit foggy out there too. But let's talk about the temps for in the forecast here. And we'll actually first touch on the temps for today real quick, because we do expect another mild day across mid-Michigan. And I'll say not quite as warm as it was yesterday, but still very much unseasonably warm. We have highs reaching into the 40s for most of mid-Michigan today. I'd say if anybody stays in the 30s, it'll be anyone closer to the shoreline, East Tawas, Oscoda, Port Hope, even Standish. There's some possibility that Standish, I think you actually might fall a little bit short of that 41 that's coming in on the map, because the wind, although light today, does generally have an easterly flow, so it's coming right off of Lake Huron, so that could keep some of those shoreline areas a bit cooler for today. But once you go south towards Owasso or Flint, for example, very likely still seeing some decent warmth today with mid to upper 40s in the forecast. But let's go over to tomorrow, and actually we'll start off going into tonight with these temperatures. And you'll notice this here, so midnight tonight, this is when that freezing rain starts up north. See how Gladwin, Standish, or West Branch, for example, are all at about 31 degrees, so sort of just falling below freezing up north, which is definitely at least a better thing to see than if temps were falling to, say, 25 degrees tonight up north, because that would certainly lend to some even bigger issues with the ice. But with temps that are just sort of on that fringe of freezing, it shouldn't take too much road salt or treatments to start to improve some of those conditions up north, so that may end up actually working in our favor a little bit. But you see here, as we go from midnight, really all throughout the majority of the night, those temps just sort of flatline there, right at 31, even 32 for a couple of those spots up north, while the entirety of the night we have Saginaw at about 35 or 36, and then we have low 40s for our southern counties. So again, if you're traveling tomorrow morning around Saginaw or around Flint, you shouldn't have to worry about any sort of ice at all, but those roads no doubt are going to be wet. Now, after this rain and the freezing rain passes by, we'll actually warm up a decent amount into the afternoon, but we may end up fighting against a little bit of colder influence from the Saginaw Bay. So you see how the bay almost keeps those northern areas stuck in the 30s for most of the day, but once we go into the afternoon, at the same time, we have a lot of our southern communities like Flint or even Elma reaching the 50s, and I think even Saginaw might be able to briefly touch 50 tomorrow as well. But certainly more warmth focused on our southern areas, but it is definitely still possible that we see a pretty decent warm-up even behind the rain once it moves out. And then once we go into tomorrow night, a lot of these temps will just settle back down to the low to mid 30s, but then we actually could even see some more warmth and possibly some more 50s again on Thursday. It's actually pretty impressive how well this warmth has been hanging on for some of our areas here in mid-Michigan. So even through Thursday, pleasant day there, partly cloudy, and again, some of those temps should be able to reach 50. Once we go into Friday, that's where we're going to have another round of rain and snow showers moving through, and that system Friday does really start to unlock some of the colder temps in the forecast. By the weekend, we're back to the mid to low 30s, which is actually average for this time of year. So this weekend will kind of be a reality check for some of these temperatures, just given that we're still in February. And then even early next week might start off with a brief dive into the upper 20s as well. Early next week does not look to be any sort of significant frigid cool down like we had a few weeks ago in January. But definitely still, you could say, cold, especially now that we've been used to the 40s for the last several days and even some 50s. The 20s are going to start to feel cold once again. So this weekend, definitely the takeaway there that it will be colder than we are right now, but really still that focus is going to be on the freezing rain and rainfall potential for tonight. going into tomorrow morning. We'll recap the alert day one last time, but actually I do want to show you too. I actually realized I forgot to show you just the rain totals from this system. Here's the rain totals here. Expecting about a quarter of an inch, maybe slightly more than that for southern areas like Owasso or Flint or Lapeer. As you go north from there, the totals will be increasing. In fact, around the Bay region, the Thumb, north of the Saginaw Bay, some totals should pretty easily exceed a half inch. And we've still even seen a few models throwing out some data that some areas might even reach 1 inch of rain on an isolated basis. Still, I do think that pretty much anywhere north of Shiawassee, Genesee, or Lapeer counties, we're looking at over a half of an inch of rainfall. So for the time of year especially, this is quite a soaking rainfall. It's just going to keep melting away any snowpack that's left or any snow piles that are still left in parking lots. What it will do, especially for our southern counties, is rinse more of the salt off of the roadways too. So it is actually going to help kind of clean up some of the roads, especially after all this melting snowpack. And you may have heard about this yesterday and over the weekend. There's been some air quality advisories issued, more so downstate, but it was because of the snow melting and all of the aerosols and all of the debris that's trapped in the snow. It starts to loosen up and finally goes airborne just as the wind blows it around and cars drive by. And so there's been some air quality issues downstate as a result of that. But what this rain is going to do again is just rinse a lot of that dust and a lot of that salt off of the roads, especially for our southern communities. But for the First Alert Weather Day, I'll just take you through this one last time here before we log off of this First Alert Weather Show. It is for tonight and tomorrow morning, midnight to noon, so 12 to 12, northern counties only, so Roscommon, Ogama, Iosco, and then Clare, Gladwin, and Aranac counties. But in those areas for the First Alert Weather Day, could see a tenth to a quarter of an inch of ice, very much some slippery roads, and a lot of slowdowns are going to be possible as a result of that. And even some isolated power outage potential in the heaviest hit areas. So that would be most likely, say, around St. Helen or Rose City, kind of right at that real northern fringe of our area. I'll say Hale as well. That's an area that could possibly see some of the power outages as well. So that is really the alert day in a nutshell for you for tomorrow. And we just are urging some caution, urging some patience for tomorrow morning's drive. Again, the majority of us, that morning drive is just going to be wet. But if you'll be traveling around Standish and anywhere north of there, that does include Gladwin as well, you will have an icy start to the day before those roads start to improve. But that's all we have for you for this morning. So be sure to tune in to First Alert meteorologist Diane Phillips. She'll be on air on TV5 at noon. She'll have another look at the forecast regarding the ice tonight. And then she'll also have another live stream or another First Alert weather show coming up at 2 this afternoon on all of these same live stream channels as well. But in the meantime, hope you have a great remainder of your morning and still enjoy some of the warmth out there too.